Hi everyone, it's Tonya Gibbs, and today I want to share with you the third spread in my mixed media Gelli Print journal that we created in the June 2015 Ustream. Here's a glimpse at some of the other pages in the book. So today we're going to concentrate on this. The print that I have here, the numbers are printed backwards, so it gave me the idea to run with the reflect theme. I'm also showing you where I took some of the pages and stitched all around, did some interesting stitching. I'm going to cover most of the stitching up with paint, but you will still see the texture through all the layers of paint and things. So I'm going to start out by using my Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft gel medium to adhere my two pages down. And then you'll notice me fussing with these letters over on the side. I've taken my Tim Holtz typeset letter die cut, and I've cut out a ton of letters over here. I decided to go with the yellow cardstock because the background was so busy that I wanted my lettering to have a solid background. They'll pop off the page before it's over, but first I need to adhere them all down. So while my pages were wet, I went ahead with the gel medium. I went ahead and started creating my quote. The quote that I've decided to use for this project, I found on a teacher's site, which I thought was really cool because it's reflect, solve, create, grow, think, and then the word learn comes out of the center of all of these words. So it's sort of a play on words kind of thing. So and I thought it kept with the theme of what I was trying to do with my journal. And so I'm going to put the word learn down first, and then that way I know that those letters are lined up. So what I've done is I've went ahead and added all of the other pieces to my quote, and now I'm going to take the crimson Stamper's Big Brush Artist Pen and color in the word learn so it turns out to be the focus here. I know I originally said reflect was my inspiration for this, but I think it kind of all comes in hand. All of these elements in the quote, as you're working through your art and you're discovering who you are as an artist, and you're also discovering, different techniques and things like that, you're learning. So it's nice to reflect on what we learn, and I really love this quote, and it's going to offer some inspiration here forward whenever I look at this book. So now what I've done is I've taken my doodle pen, and this pen is made by Marvy. It is the Reminisce Marvy pen, and I love this pen because it does not smear. Once it's dry, the ink is permanent and it does not smear. And again, it's made by Marvy. So I will link that up in my blog post so that you can, find it in your local market area and purchase one. So on the left hand side, what I decided to do was build out these circles, and so I've punched these out of random circle shapes that I had in my punch stash, and I've cut these out of other Gelli prints that we did in the Ustream. So this whole book is made with Gelli prints. Even if I layer over what I did in the background, I'm still using Gelli prints as my inspiration for building out the other elements. So I love that some of these are open and they are offset, and some of them are closed. I think anytime you do any of the items that are highlighted there in the quote, like reflect, solve, create, grow, think, you are really encompassing your art. So I wanted to stick with that circular pattern because I felt like it really mimicked that whole mindset as well. I'm probably getting way too philosophical for this, but it just really, I think that's what art should do, is stimulate your brain into thinking about something even deeper than what it really is. So the circle that I just put down was actually punched from the Canon warranty paper that I printed on in the Ustream, and I love it because it has some Oriental symbols there. I cut it out of the Japanese section or the Chinese section, and so I really love how now there's another language that's there in this book, but I really love the graphical appeal that it gives. So I'm going to take some of that orange and fill in some of these circles just to kind of knock them back a little bit so I can write over the top of them, and that's going to help to settle your eye because there's a lot of color going on here. So these solid pieces are going to help to give your eye a place to just kind of stop and settle. I'm also going to cover up the spine of my book with some paint so that it doesn't look like it was just glued into a book. It kind of looks like one complete spread. So I'm going to take a cosmetic sponge and just kind of work that paint around and blend it a little better. And then I decided I needed another layer of color because there's not enough color on this, right? So I'm going to grab out that kiwi color and I'm going to put a little bit on my mat there and use a toilet tissue roll to just stamp around some open circles around the layout. It just reinforces that circular theme I've got going on the left hand side and helps to bring some of that green color back into the mix. This color combination is so gorgeous and so bright and fun. One thing I've really enjoyed about this project is just how free it is and how every single layer builds on the other layer, and you can see so many dimensions when you're looking at the pages. Even though you think I'm covering everything up, the paint's opacity is it's opaque paint, but it's going on super thin, so you can still see all the elements below. I know it's hard to see in video, but that just really gives a really nice texture, and it just is so free, and you feel like you're creating for no you have no agenda. So that's one of the things I really like about this project. So now I've pulled out my Aquarilla black watercolor pencil. Sorry, my brain just stopped for a second, from Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft, and I'm just tracing around some of these circles, and then I'm using my finger to blend those circles out. I didn't want this to get dark. It ended up getting dark, but I didn't want it to get dark, which is why I used a watercolor pencil. But then I decided, what the heck, this is mixed media, right? So I grabbed out a water brush and just added a little bit of water to that to blend it out. And I actually loved the shadows that I was getting around the circles, and it really kind of helped to pop them up off the page. So now I'm going to come back in with that crimson Stampers Big Brush Artist Pen and work some more color in around some of these negative spaces, filling them in. I wanted to see if I could tone down some of that black and give it that pop of rigid color, and I love how it's really making my circles pop. So I'm going to grab out that heat gun and let these get good and dry. I want to make sure everything is really dry so that whenever I come back and add my doodling, the mediums are not gunking up my pen. So I'm going to throw a couple more of those little scallops there down at the bottom. But before I do, I have my Reminisce pen that we discussed earlier, and I'm just going to draw some arrows that go to point toward the word grow, and it fills in that negative space there, and it's leading your eye from the circles that are on the left back into my quote and just sort of helping to connect it all together. And then there's my scallops that I'm going to add in, and I realize that my pen is just not bold enough, so I'm going to reach for my Stampers Big Brush Artist Pen in black and fill in all of those scallops with the black pen. Now these pens are India ink, so once they dry they are permanent, so I should be able to come back and add some more layers over the top of it, and just continue to build the spread out, and it does help to frame it in really nicely. So now I want to get rid of all this paint on my desk, and I don't want to waste it, so I've decided to pull out one of those stencils again. This is from Diversions, and I am going to add some of that green paint and that white paint to my cover, since the cover is not complete yet and that paint matches everything that I'm using in the spread. It just worked fine, and I didn't have to waste the paint. So now I'm coming back in with my doodling pen. I'm going to trace back over the edges of those circles and just kind of make them a little more bold and pop. And here comes my mistake. So for those of you who are spelling champions, you'll realize that I misspell the word reflect. But never fear, I recognize my mistake and I do fix it towards the end of the video. So I think this goes back to the last week's video that I shared. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. I am a terrible speller, but sometimes my brain is working a little slower than my hands, so I miss things. So like I said, I kept looking at this and looking at it and going, what is wrong with this? I cannot figure out what's wrong with it. And truthfully, I will be honest with you, it was a day later before I realized what I had done. So we make mistakes, and that's why we do these in art journals, and we don't do them on fine art, right? So anyway, even with the word written right there next to me, I still managed to write it incorrectly, but it's all good. So what I decided to do was to write one of the words from the quote in each circle. So of course we did reflect, and then now we have grow. And over on this side, I'm going to do create. And what I'm starting to do is I'm just going to trace those out with the doodle pen, and then I come back and add weight to them so that they pop off the page against all of this chaos. They really kind of take the foreground. And I love to do creative lettering. That's one of my new things. I think I've just fallen in love with it. So it's fun to have in an environment where you can. I will, however, say it is a bit of a challenge on these mixed media layouts. I've had to search and search and search for a really good pen. I know there is one out there, but so far this has been my favorite go-to. And this is the, like I said, the Marvin Reminisce, just because it is waterproof. Now, the pen that I used in the last spread was the Uniball Bold. I think it was called the Jetstream Bold 1.0, and that was really good. It wrote over all of these mediums very well, but it is not waterproof. So that was a downer for me. And again, if it was the last thing I did, then that would be fine. So in the upper corner, since it had the Oriental lettering in it, I thought that that would be a good place to put the word think. And I love the fact that I used the camera warranty paper because if you know me, I go nowhere without a camera in my hand. So it just sort of fit with who I am. And then down here in the bottom, I've decided to write the word learn, since it sort of stands out independent from the rest of the letters. And I did it in a cursive. When I wrote it, it was black, and then I thought, oh, what if I did white? So I go back with my white Sharpie, add some white highlights to some of my circles, and I probably should have really just stopped, but you know, this is mixed media, you just keep going, right? So I'm going to add some dots there in the center of the scallops, and I'm going to outline some spaces there in my arrows, and then I decide that go around some of my circles a little more. I got a little too heavy-handed with it there, and then I go over the word learn, and I really wish I hadn't have, because it just it was lost. The Sharpie paint pens are picking up the pen colors from below, so I don't know. Anyway, so here I'm using the Crimson Stampers Big Brush Artist pen again with a stamp from Lamore Weber's Indigo Blue Line. This is the Rugged Edges, and it's one of the hexagon borders. And I like how it added that little. It needed the stamping to kind of tone some of those colors down and send them back to the background. So as you can see, I took my Stampers Big Brush Artist pen in the black and went over the word learn, and now I'm coming back with the Sharpie in white and going over it, and then I still seriously did not like it, so I came back again and added more. Around these circles, I'm just going to doodle in some more like little dashes and things like that, just creating a little bit more boldness there around them, adding some weight to them. And so I kept looking at this going, there's something just not right. There's something just not right. And I kept adding and adding and adding. Well, a couple days later, I noticed what wasn't right. The word reflect wasn't spelled right. I know, I'm such a goober. But anyway, so here we go, fixing it. I just added some white paint over the top, and then just used my pen to doodle in the word, the C and the T for reflect. So anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I love how this turned out. It's so fun. And this is the left side of the spread, and then here's the section that has the quote, and you can really see that texture from the stitching going on in the background. And then here is the full spread. Love it. And you can even see the stitching there on the left along the margin. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you decide to try out some of these techniques, hashtag following Tonya Gibbs in your social media so I can find it. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And also don't forget there will be a link down below that has the blog post and the other pieces that go into making this book also are linked up there at the blog post. So thank you for hanging out.